Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Vinalstein, and today I'm talking with Aaron Shepard. He's an intern at NASA, and he recently started his own company, Cogito. So we're going to be talking all about online presence today, about some of the videos that he's done. Aaron, I'm so glad that you've joined us. Would you mind introducing yourselves to get us started?
Yes. Like Jennifer said, my name is Aaron Shepard. I am currently in school for my engineering degree. And while I was in school, I decided that I really wanted to work on space stuff. So I got connected to the South Carolina Space Grant and eventually NASA. I spent the last 3 summers working at NASA Langley. On top of that, I really like controlling things with my mind. So I started a company that lets me do that. And hopefully one day that'll get me paid. But today, at least, I have a little bit of fun, and that's the most important thing.
And your dog has joined us for this interview. Would you introduce your dog to everyone who's joining us on video?
Yes, hi. So this is my dog, Ashton. He does not know any boundaries, and anytime I come online or even when I have video meetings, especially this past summer, so all the interns at NASA were virtual, and he would be in like all of my meetings. So I'd be sitting here like trying to show a design, and then my dog would just come on the camera.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I am so glad you joined me for this feature interview. We connected on Instagram a couple of years ago, and I've been following your journey since then. So, one thing that I'd love to ask about to start us off is your TEDx talk, Make America Space Again. What made you decide to do a TEDx talk? Like, what inspired you?
It was a couple of things. One, I'm really passionate about not just space flight, but the story behind it. And in doing that research and in learning the history of why we went to the moon, what inspired us, I realized that there was a flaw in our original perspective. We did it out of fear, and we were so, and when I say we, I mean the United States.
Mhm.
We were so concerned with beating the Soviets that we rushed up there, we got to the moon, we planted the flag, it was great. But then afterwards, it was like, well, okay. I mean, once we didn't have somebody to compete with or somebody to be afraid of, we just let spaceflight kind of dwindle. And don't get me wrong, I love everything we've done with Skylab. I love everything we've done with the International Space Station. But at the same time, it's like, man, we should have been on Mars by now. And so the message that I wanted to spread was I had 2 things. One, I wanted to share the origin story and point out the root cause of our stalling in space. And then 2, I really wanted to help give the perspective of, okay, well, let's make space about science and inspiration and inspire. Well, inspiration is inspiring. Gosh, I can't speak today, but let's make space about science and inspiration, and let's inspire a generation who will want to go up and go out and actually stay there this time. So that way we can accomplish all the amazing things that we want to in spaceflight.
That's great. Well, I loved your talk, especially your honesty and your humor. You were really great at storytelling. And so I'm curious, what was the process of writing your talk like?
Very long, very difficult, very, I would say that that is the hardest public speaking event or thing that I've done in my life. And um, actually, I changed the talk I changed it like the night before, and I spent like 5 hours because just to give you guys a little bit of background, they had a bunch of us go on that day, and there were some really amazing talks. And I had about a 5 hour period between when I came into the building and when I had to go on stage. And so I just spent all 5 hours doing my talk over and over and over again. So it was very challenging, but rewarding at the same time because now one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, in addition to sharing the message and spreading the story, is I wasn't the best public speaker, and I wanted to do something that would give me the confidence to go out and continue speaking. Because for me, as a scientist, as an engineer, I realized that our work is only as good as our ability to communicate it. And traditionally, we are not the most communicative people. So I really wanted to do something to help kickstart that speaking aspect of my career, or my mission to make science digestible to the everyday person. So with that, I was like, okay, let me try to do something hard. Let's do TEDx. That's pretty hard. And then after that, I feel so much more confident now when I do speaking. It's like, oh yeah, I can do whatever, you know. I at this point I barely read my notes. I'm like, oh, I did TEDx. No big deal.
That totally changed your perspective. It sounds like you approached it because you had some anxiety around public speaking, because it was something that you were nervous about. And taking on that kind of challenge really changed how you feel about public speaking. I love that. It's actually why I took on videos, why I started this interview series, because I wanted to get more comfortable talking to people, but also I wanted to get more comfortable with myself, just like being on video. And then I started doing live video, so I would be more comfortable not having to edit myself or feel like I needed to. And so it made a big difference for me, just like practicing. But I think I would have been too scared to dive right into something as big as TEDx. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then too, I tell everybody it is all about who you know. It's the hands you shake, not the grades or the things you make. Through social media, I connected with a guy named Jake Voorhees, who he was running his own online platform. It was dedicated to science communication, and he happened to be the cameraman at the TEDx Wilmington site. And he's like, "Yo, man, if you want to do a TED talk, I'll help you." And so I said, okay. And through that relationship, I had that opportunity, and the rest is history. So I always, when I talk to people and they always ask me like, well, how did you do it? I'm honest, and I'm just like, well, it's because I knew somebody. And that is truly one of the components to success that I feel like doesn't get communicated. Like everybody tells you, yeah, work hard, and you have to come up with these amazing original ideas. And that's true. However, part of it is the relationships that you build. So that's one thing that I'm really focusing on in this stage of my development in my career, is building those relationships and just creating that network of people who I believe in, who believe in me, and who have shared goals. And so that way we can all help each other get to the places that we want to go to.
And it sounds like you connected on social media. That was an online connection that developed into a collaboration, and really something that helped move your career forward. It helped move how you felt about public speaking in a new direction. So that online relationship turned into something quite tangible for yourself.
Yes. That's the age we live in. Social media is powerful. It is, I try to treat it as a tool, and I try to use it. And one thing that I really like about social media is that it allows me to, let me back up. So when I'm in school, like when I'm in class, I'm the one kid with all the NASA merchandise. They're like, I've been dubbed by one of my classmates as the NASA kid. But then when I hop on social media, I can find 100 other people like me, and we can all get together. We can do live streams, and that connection is so valuable, because it's like, I'm a big like comic. I'm not comic books, but I really like the MCU. And so it's like the scene when in Iron Man 2, when Tony Stark finds out about the Avengers, and Nick Fury is like, yeah, there's a world that's much bigger than you. There are other people like you. So you're not just the hero in your own world. You're part of this like bigger collective universe. And I really like how social media has allowed me and other people in the community to connect.
When you first realized that you wanted to connect with people that were interested in NASA, that were interested in space or maybe robotics, how did you go about finding them on social media? How did you start making connections?
Honestly, it just was organic. I found people's profiles who I liked. I followed them. I engaged with them. They would engage with me. And and then, we'd start messaging, and sorry, my dog is like, yeah, conversations start. And then from one thing that I really focus on is building organic relationships. So it's not just, oh, well, I see you have a bunch of followers, so let me try to manipulate you into following me. It's like, no, I really want like I really like what you do, and I'm asking you questions, I'm engaging with
Right.
you, and then that leads you to engage with me, and then there's a connection. So
Right. Who are you as a person? Like social media is about real people and making connections and having conversations with real people about things that you're both interested in.
yes, which let me remind you, engineers, we are not the most talkative people. So it's interesting. It's an interesting hurdle to overcome, but it's
Mm.
so powerful, and that just opens up a it opens up a dimension in your career that I didn't previously have access to, and then it it's just so many opportunities, and it's just the way that the world is. Like I can't think of any better way to do this.
Yeah, for sure. Especially right now when we are all at home. When you said you're doing your internship at home and connecting with people online to talk about your designs and everything like that.
Mhm.
So let me ask more about your TEDx talk. After you finish it, it's such a public talk and it's on YouTube, so more people can watch it. I'm curious, what kind of response did you get to the talk?
I got a really positive response. Um, People would, I've read comments, and, people would say like, "Hey, I saw your talk," and it really like, from my end, I put it all together like at the last minute, and so I'm like, "Oh gosh, it's terrible." And then of course, like everybody else, I don't like the way that I sound on video. Um, so I think I've watched maybe like 30 seconds of it, and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. But the fact that it's always interesting when I meet people like you, and when I go on other podcasts that are STEM centric, and they're like, yeah, I really liked your talk, and I really got all these ideas from it. I'm like, you did? Oh, that's great. I'm glad you did. But let me tell you, it is I felt like it was kind of all pieced together at the last second. But
Well, I mean,
I,
it
I
was
really
in a sense that like you did write a lot of it at the last minute, like you said, but it's not that you weren't thinking about it for months. You weren't planning it and thinking about what your audience was going to think and how they were going to react to it. Like that's why you were rewriting until the last minute. You were working on
exactly.
improving it so that people would continue to get that kind of reaction. And it sounds like they still do. I did certainly.
Yes. Yes, and that makes me so happy because again, the every talk has a central idea, and my central idea was, hey, the way that we did spaceflight was cool the first time, but if we want to go out and stay out this time, we got to change our perspective on it. So I'm really, it makes me really happy to hear the positive feedback and to hear how it um, and in some cases, some people have responded to me and said, "Oh, I didn't even know that's what it. I didn't even know like that. All that was happening. I just thought we said, hey, let's go to the moon." And it's like, so it's really cool to see just how the idea is interpreted by different people.
That's wonderful. I love that. Now, not long after your talk, you started to intern at NASA. I feel like that's something people dream about. So I would love to hear what is that? What has that been like?
Oh man. Okay. So bit of a background story, and if you don't mind, it'll be like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
I promise. I was sitting earlier that year. It was like October, and I was like, okay, my grades are kind of mediocre, like not terrible, but not excellent. I was like, I have had this. I had this research experience that was semi NASA and space related. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and put in an application. So I filled out the application, and I actually applied for the Robotics Academy at Marshall. And right at the end of the application, it was like, hey, there are other academies such as aeronautics at Langley. I think there was one at Goddard, and it said, do you want to apply for that? Check yes if you want to apply to all. So I was like, yeah, let me check the box. Didn't think, just checked it, didn't even think about it. So fast forward to March of that next year. Um, on Friday, I get home from work, and my wife, for whatever reason, was watching Hidden Figures. And I was like, okay, so I'm sitting there watching Hidden Figures, and I'm like, oh yeah, babe, that's a real center. Like Langley's a cool place. I wouldn't mind to go there. No lie. The next Monday, I got the email from the Aeronautics Academy at Langley saying, hey, do you want to join our program? And it was like, I didn't technically apply for it. I just said I would be open to it. So I always tell people, click the box that says yes, apply for all. But yeah, so interning at NASA, being a part of that is something that honestly I am extremely proud of. There is so much history on center. You First of all, it feels really cool because when you come on, you have your badge, you get like a real badge. It's from the US government. It's got intern on it. You got to pass through security. You feel like just you are important.
Right.
Um, but beyond that, like when you're on center, you realize like, yes, Katherine Johnson did work here. I actually, my first summer, she started out in flight research, which was in near the hangar where I worked at. Um, you do tours and somebody mentions, oh yeah, when they were practicing for the moon landings, Neil Armstrong used to come in and change right there. And so just to see the history and other things that just really blew my mind, like you'd sit in a meeting and that old guy, that's the old guy in the corner, worked on the moon landings. Your boss worked on the shuttle, designed the heat shield for it. And there's just so much. It's just really hard to describe. Like it's so awe-inspiring. You're like, wow, all this stuff really happened. And to be a part of it, I think is just incredible. And I really like how NASA treated the interns. They were very, they were very just inclusive. They were like, okay, you are a part of our family, our legacy, our brand. You are our ambassadors. They were really fun. We had a whole bunch of social events. We went and played laser tag a lot. There's a picture of about like 30 of us sitting with laser tag guns. And it was also really cool because I got to meet other students like me who were really passionate. I can truly say that I've worked with the best and the brightest. I mean, kids that have done amazing things, top of their class, top of their field, and just everybody's so nice, so open. And we're all kind of bought into the mission. Like one thing that I really love about working at a place like NASA is NASA. I don't know too many people that just end up at NASA. Like we all had to decide, okay, I really want to go here. So there was just a level of passion that comes into the work that makes it so exciting and so much fun.
And you've held multiple internships at NASA, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm on 3 right now. I'm debating on going for a 4th.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
yes. So the first time I worked on urban air mobility, which basically translated to flying Uber cars. Uh, yeah, it was a really cool project. The second time I worked on soft robotics. So they were like these soft, squishy robots that my biggest claim to fame is that I'm on one of the promo videos for the project and it's got like 500,000 views. And it's like, if you look, you can see like my elbow. And I'm like, that's my elbow. And it has a video. And then the third summer, which we just wrapped up, summer 2020, I was on another robotics project, and it was to help construct solar panel arrays on the moon. So
It
I,
sounds like all of these internships are very project based, and it's something that you really get to see firsthand, to get your hands in and really learn a lot on the ground. And it sounds like NASA is a really great community, and so that must be such a fun environment to be in, to grow in.
yes, it is. I recommend it to everybody. I've had other students at my school find me online and just say like, "Hey, what's it like? Do you recommend it?" And I'm like, yes. And then one thing too is that there really is a sense of connection. So to touch that earlier theme, um, I have mentors that I can call up and say, hey, like I need help with block. Can you help me? And if they can't do it, by the end of the day, I'll have a list of people that can. And it's incredible. And
Wow.
I got to pay it forward. Again, like one student reached out to me. He was like, yeah, I'm really interested in doing aeroacoustics. Do you know somebody? And I was like, yeah, I know somebody. So 48 hours later, he was talking to somebody at NASA. And so it's part of, I think it's, it's being a part of that group and that family. And, you know, I just love every second of it.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with me. One of the things that I definitely wanted to ask you about was one of the videos that you made. You produced a video for NASA introducing the public to Makerspace. Can I ask, what is Makerspace for those of people who are listening?
Okay, yes. So the Makerspace was a specific building at Langley, and in it, it was meant to be a community space. There were 3D printers, laser cutters. Was there a CNC machine? I think, yeah, there was a CNC machine. There were a whole bunch of parts, components, and so if you had a project or an idea, you could come to that space and essentially work on it. So the story with that video was somebody from the NASA PR team was like, "Hey, we need somebody to do a makerspace tour." And that summer, I was on the soft robotics team, and we were based in that area. So we had kind of given tours as a way to pay for our use of the space. And so I, I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And then, so if you get nothing else from this podcast, people listening, say yes, I'll do it to everything. But yeah, that was a really fun video. Got to walk around, give the tour, do the MTV Cribs thing, like, "Yo, what's up, y'all? Government funded crib right here."
I love
And
it.
yeah, it was a really fun place, and I actually learned a lot about rapid prototyping, 3D printing. I got to connect with because it was a central hub. I got to connect with a bunch of the other interns and people working on different projects, and that was really cool. So it was just an incredible experience.
I love the video. I actually remember when it first came out because you had posted on Twitter, like, check out this MTV Crib style video. And I was like, I gotta watch that. And it was just so fun. I felt like I was learning a lot about the space as you were walking through it, and you showed a lot of different projects. And because of that, it really felt community oriented. And so it was an effective tour for the type of space that you described, as a place where people can come together and work with these particular tools.
Yes, and then too, like I definitely have to shout out. His name is Gary Qualls. He was actually the engineer that helped put together the makerspace, and he is just. I mean, he's been at NASA for, gosh, 13 years plus. If he ever hears this, I mean, he's probably like, "You got it wrong," but really great guy. Has worked on some really high profile projects, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. And he actually traveled to a bunch of maker fairs and maker spaces all over the country, and that's how he got the idea for building Langley's. And so
I love it.
really collaborative space, and the conversations were incredible. One day we had a very interesting debate on whether you should send robots in space or people in space. And as a roboticist who does space stuff, it's a conflict of interest, because I was like, of course I want to send people to space. I want to go to space. But then it's like, yeah, but I want to build robots that go to space too. And so the idea that we came to is that you send people in giant robot suits to space, and that's how you do it.
Oh.
So like Gundam Wing, that's the ideal plan. But I don't think that'll get funded.
It's funny, but I really like that these conversations are something that's inspiring to you. It's something that really sparks curiosity and debate, and so that's really interesting. So I'd love to talk. You founded your own business called Cogito, and you said that you want to control things with your mind. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so yeah, there's always a story. So with Cogito, what happened was this started when I was like 5, and I think they just released Star Wars in the theaters. It's like they did a re-release in the 90s. My dad and I went to go see it, and I got to see, Luke Skywalker, and he's like moving stuff with his mind, and like there's rocks lifts an Xbox out of the swamp. It's like, oh cool, I want to do that. So I go home and I just sit there like in front of my door, and I'm like, I have my hand up and I'm like trying so hard, and the door didn't even budge. I'm like, I just feel defeated. So when I started my engineering degree in 2016, I was doing a freshman robotics class, and one of the things that came up with, I would just I really like robots, so I would just take it home and I would kind of go above and beyond. It's one of the few classes that I do that in. Um, and I would just find different ways to control it. So I like hooked it up to an Xbox controller, tried a bunch of different things. And one day I was reading about these things called brain computer interfaces. And what they essentially do is they measure the electrical activity of your brain, and they can output certain things like it can measure how focused you are, how relaxed you are, if your mind is wandering, something like that. Um, it turns out these are relatively cheap. You can find them on eBay for 20 bucks. And so I found one and I hooked it up to one of the robots from my class. And then I'm sitting here like, I'm like, okay, in theory, if I do this right, when I press the button to turn it on, it should like drive based on how focused I am. So if I focus really hard, it'll drive. So I'm sitting there, and again, I'm doing the Star Wars thing, and I'm like, "Argh!" And it moves. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And so and if you go way in the depths of my Instagram, I think you can find it. I'm like sitting on my apartment floor in my pajamas. It's pretty awesome.
I'm gonna go
And
back and look for that and embed it in this thing. Yeah, for sure.
yes, I will try to dig it up if I can and
Nice.
send you the link. Um, and so with that, being the nerd that I am, I was like, oh, hey, this is really cool. I want to share it with other people. So I started demoing it at my school when we did, science outreach events. Did that for a few years, and enough people kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, you could really do something with this. Why don't you try to make something of this?
Mhm.
And again, theme of the episode. Yeah, sure, why not? So uh, partnered with two classmates who had helped me out with a lot of the outreach events. And yeah, now we started our own company, and our mission is to make things that you control with your mind and to get it out for the public.
I love that, and especially that kind of focus on outreach, and that being an inspiration for why you decided to actually make it a company, why you decided to start moving forward in that direction.
Yes, yes, yes. And one thing that I'm really excited about is that we are partnering with the Discovery Station up in Maryland, and we're doing a whole bunch of brain controlled pieces for them. So we're actually meeting later tonight to kind of to work out the logistics of that, but I'm really excited.
Oh, that's very cool to hear. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah, yeah,
Now,
it's
back when we first spoke, like so this is a couple of years ago back on Instagram, you said that you wanted to be a STEM personality like Bill Nye or Neil deGrasse Tyson. Is that still your goal?
yes. I think I have a lot of goals. Um, um, yes, I would like to be a STEM personality. But yes, that is still one of the goals. I really think that I personally believe that when you're talking about science and its impact in the world, there has to be a personality with it, because that's the only way that it will, in my opinion, that's the only way that you get the general public to embrace it. And
Mm-hmm.
um, as you can tell, we are not a society that embraces science all the way, and that has had some interesting consequences in the last 365 days.
Oh yeah.
Um, so, and then too, especially me growing up Black, and I remember growing up and being really into science and not having too many people that were also into science. And so it felt lonely and isolating. So just my mission has always been to really become a prominent voice. Now, whether or not that's happening, I don't know. But I'm just going to have fun and try to do as much good as I can.
I love that. Trying to do as much good as you can, and also I love how you've really focused on organic networking, organic, real connections with people who inspire you, who you'd like to connect with long term. Both of those things, and really just striving for pushing your boundaries. Like you always say yes to things. You know, you're taking chances and pushing where you feel like the anxiety for public speaking. You were like, let me do a public speaking, like the top talk that I can do, let me do that. Like when you applied to NASA, you weren't sure exactly if you could do all these those other internships, but you checked all those boxes. I think that is the message people should take away from this. Like you kept taking chances, you keep striving towards those goals and finding your way there because of those connections and because you've taken chances.
Yes. And now one thing I always tell people, um, I try to be as authentic as possible. Yes, there are highlights. There for every, oh my gosh, I get to build this awesome thing at NASA. There was, oh my gosh, I didn't even know, I didn't know I could make that low on a test, or oh my gosh, I've got to really work hard. And I have faced setbacks in my academic career. I've had to retake classes. And at this point, the first couple of times when I've met failure, it was really hard to process. But now I'm like, look, it's part of the game. Honestly, if you want to be great, you got to pay a price, and you learn so much from your failures and your mistakes that it really helps to propel you forward to the next level. So I try to be authentic, and I try to share that as well. Or I occasionally on social media, I'll show like all the not fun parts of what I do, like woo, and it gets not fun sometimes, but again, it's all about appreciating the whole picture. And
Mm.
for every for every night that I have been up, and for every night that I've been up at 2 a.m. and buried in a math problem, every time I'm like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Or oh my gosh, why am I not succeeding? There have been moments that make it all worth it. So I try to tell people like, look, it, there are highs and there are lows, but you use your setbacks and your low points to propel you further, higher.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I've certainly felt your honesty during this talk. And thank you for sharing everything that you have about the struggles that you've gone through and things that have been setbacks at times, but you still push forward. And that's inspiring. Now, you seem particularly interested in education outreach and inspiring the next generation of scientists and engineers. Why is that so important to you?
Um, there is a quote by, I believe, Aristotle, or and I can't, I don't have it in front of me, but the theme is the sign, or a wise. I think the quote is, a wise man plants trees whose shade he knows he will never sit
Hmm.
in. And for me, I'm a fan of the Greeks. I'm a fan of classical literature, and for that just really stuck with me, in that it's not about it. The goal is to be an agent of progress, and so it's about planting seeds and really setting up the next person under me, or the next generations of people under me, to go further than my generation will. I think that's what we're supposed to do as humans. I, I see it as the only way to solve the big problems that are coming, because yes, I will have a hand in solving some of the major problems. It, you know, let me think. There are problems that it's about to get really interesting. You have to think about global warming. At some point, we're actually going to be attempting a Mars landing. There are a lot of questions about ethics and technology, integrating technology with the human body, something like Neuralink. Um, these are hard problems to solve, and I'll have a part in it, but I'm not going to be the one who finishes it. So I've got to make sure that the person who finishes it has, or that the right people want to step in and finish those problems.
That's really interesting that because some of the things that you're most interested in seeing move forward are part of these larger projects, part of something that couldn't possibly be done just alone or just by you or just maybe in this lifetime, that because those things are true for you, you also see this kind of larger perspective as an ultimate goal for how you are in the world. I love that image of or idea of planting a tree that you wouldn't be able to sit in the shade in, because of course a tree takes forever to grow, especially to grow so large that people could relax underneath it in a shaded area. So that's a beautiful image to me.
Yes, and then I think with everything that has happened this past year, I've really examined how in my lifetime I've been the beneficiary of that. Um, just thinking about my own family lineage, if you go up a couple of generations, I had family members like my great great grandmother was hardworking, but she was illiterate and an immigrant. And then from there to be in the position to that where I am today, where I can go to school and I can read and I can get all these degrees, like it's something I don't take lightly. Same thing. I, and I let me preface this by saying it's almost impossible to keep politics out of science because what we do ties into politics. But the notion of being able to vote, like it wasn't too long ago where my family members wouldn't have been able to vote. And a lot of people suffered and sacrificed so that I had that. And so being the beneficiary of that and seeing how it's changed my life, it's just wanting to pass that desire for progress down onto the next generation and the generation after that.
Well, I love that. Aaron, thank you so much for this interview. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I think oh actually yes, there is one more thing. So one of one of my buddies that I've connected with on social media, his name is Lee Giat. He started a project called Passage, and his mission or his goal is to fly science supplies down to a bunch of countries in South and Central America
Mhm.
and really help inspire them. So if you guys are listening, please check it out, passageflight.com. Incredible group. You get a lot of interesting things for donating. You get invited to the premiere. Oh, because let me back up by saying he's filming a documentary as he does this because he's a filmmaker and a pilot and a STEM enthusiast. And so he's filming a documentary. So if you donate, you get a chance to go to the premiere. You get access to a masterclass library. I'm teaching a masterclass on robotics. There are a bunch of other science communicators teaching masterclasses. And there are so many more cool prizes, or not prizes, but incentives to donate. And this is such a big mission. I really care about it. I think that it has the potential to do so much good in the world. So yes, guys, check it out, passageflight.com.
Awesome. I will definitely link to that in the blog post. Aaron, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. I hope you have a great day.
Yes, you too.